You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me on socials at SamLittle44 and the podcast at Maple Footy Pod. And now there's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, and welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast. And yeah, Canada, El Salvador, that was definitely a game, right? Like, we can define that as a soccer game for sure. Yeah, not the best. So we will break it all down. But first, you know how we start these? With the Maple Start. So let's get into that. So in CPL action, we'll start with York and Ottawa. And not a great game. 0-0. Not shocking. From Ottawa, because they have been, in my opinion, like the entertainers this season. They've been so much fun to watch, but this game, not so much, especially after the last outing they had, 3-2, back in, when was that? Oh my gosh, the months are flying by. Was that April? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Years flying by. What can I say? Cavalry grabbed themselves a win, 1-0 over Pacific, so Cavalry continues their very good season. And of course, Forge with the biggest scoreline of this match day, 5-0 over Valor. Brian Wright gets his first hat trick with the Hammers, and he needed that. I'm a big fan of Brian Wright. I rate him highly, and he definitely needed that performance. That was absolutely massive. Puts him on, is that 7 goals all comps this season? So that's pretty good so far. So yeah, always rooting for the boys from the Hammer, you know. So that's absolutely massive. And Atalanta, this is some transfer news now. Atalanta are looking at Nico Seeger earlier in the summer. Well, technically spring, I guess. Late in the spring, early summer, whatever we want to classify it as. It had broke that Anderlecht were looking at Nico Seeger. I don't know if those links are still on. I don't know. I have not seen any updates. But now Atalanta and the Serie A are apparently looking at him as well. Atalanta would be a very good spot for him. I'm a big fan of him going to Anderlecht as well. But yeah, seems like Nico Seeger could be on the move this summer. He has a very, very high ceiling. Speaking of Anderlecht, as we just were, Nathan Saliba, the best Saliba in world football, looking like that deal is all but done. So that is absolutely massive. He applied his trade in CF Montreal for a good few years, was a standout for them these last couple years, especially when they have not been great. He has definitely been a shining star. So yeah, Canada's Young Player of the Year last year as well. So we will see if that deal, or when that deal gets finalized. All the best to him. I'm a big fan of his, and I think this will only up his game. Stefan Eustáquio will be joining up with the group, as Porto were grouped in the Club World Cup. So Stefan Eustáquio will at least be joining us for the quarterfinals against Guatemala. And if we go further, then obviously he will be there for those as well. 2 players that won't be there are Ali Ahmed and Jonathan Osorio. Both are done. Ali Ahmed, of course, went off injured in the game against Curacao, and Jonathan Osorio wasn't even on the bench, so the writing was kind of on the wall, I guess, there for Oso. But yeah, it's a shame. Both are very talented players. I'm a big fan of both, but as you know, Jonathan Osorio is like my guy. So yeah, it sucks. But sadly, as I say, when a lot of guys get injured, that is sadly a part of the game. Sadly. But yeah, I think it's a shame. I think we're going to miss them, honestly. So we'll see what Canada does without them. Obviously, still hope that they still win the Gold Cup, but I do think that they're both very useful players to have in your back pocket, and to not have them as options, I think that definitely is a big time blow. Tajon Buchanan did hit 50. He hit 50 caps last night. We'll talk more about him as the episode progresses. This is also our first time since 2009 where we topped the Gold Cup group. Once again, we'll talk more about that game in just a moment. And Jesse Marsch finally this is the last one, has been cleared of his allegations. There's a whole article. I'm not going to summarize it. I'm not going to read it to you. It is up on Canada Soccer's Twitter page, so you can go and read that. But yeah, essentially, in the short, I believe he got a fine, but has been cleared of all allegations. So yeah, that's where we're at. And now into our game against El Salvador. All right. 2-0 against El Salvador. Could have been more. Could have been less. But yeah, in the end, I don't want to be so negative. I have not been impressed with Canada in this Gold Cup, outside of course, the thumping of Honduras. And I guess it does say something that we beat the second place team in our group 6-0. Because Honduras finished second. They're progressing to the quarterfinals. And we struggled against the two teams they're getting knocked out. But yeah, I have not been super impressed from game weeks 2 and 3. Of course, last night, as I'm recording this last night, not a good game. Another not good game. And this one, I mean, Canada definitely has some fault in it. But yeah, it was a tough one to watch because it was like CONCACAF on steroids. El Salvador, they didn't go out there with a game plan other than just try to break dudes' legs. Every single tackle they went in on was studs up and in a scissoring motion. That's how people get hurt. And that's how Aliama got hurt against Curacao. So very much a stressful watch, hoping that our guys wouldn't pick up any injuries, and that's me knocking on wood. I have not seen any reports of any coming off of that game, which is a good thing. So that's a pro, I would say. But yeah, it was just tough for us to find any momentum and any rhythm. Of course, the two guys getting sent off helped because even though El Salvador just parked the bus, just by sheer numbers, eventually we were gonna score. And when and if that time came, it never looked like we were going to give it up, and that is exactly what happened. Jonathan David gets a very nicely worked goal, and Tajon Buchanan just minutes later grabs the second, all but wrapped it up, and did wrap it up in all fairness. But yeah, it was a pathetic display from El Salvador, I will say that much. It was terrible. Like, they were just going out there to hurt, and that is not the game. That's not how the game should be played. I'm all for a hard tackle, absolutely. But when you're going in with the intent to hurt multiple times, that's where I kind of have the issue. But, of course, if that's how they want to play, it's how they want to play. That's why they're going home, right? But, yeah, trying to think of things to say for Canada on this game is actually kind of difficult, just because it doesn't feel like we had too many talking points that I haven't already talked about against, like, Curacao. It's still the same issues. It just is. I will say I thought our defense looked better in this game than we did in the last one. And we didn't let El Salvador back into this game like we did with Curacao, but also I look at 9 men versus 11, and yeah, those 9 men are going to get tired quicker. That's why they didn't have a late-stage comeback in that last 25, 20 minutes like Curacao did. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't like being negative with these guys, but it wasn't a great game, and I'm not feeling super hopeful coming into this quarterfinal. We struggled against Curacao, we struggled against El Salvador, and now I'm meant to believe that we're just going to beat Guatemala. And yeah, I know we beat Honduras 6-0, and we should beat Guatemala. We should beat Curacao, and we should beat El Salvador. We couldn't beat Curacao, and El Salvador, yes, we did beat them, but it wasn't the most convincing. And then if we do win that, we face the winner of USA and is it Costa Rica that they're playing? Yeah, I think it's Costa Rica. Costa Rica, of course, has some quality. More than some. Sorry, my bad. The United States, I know a lot has been made about them in this Gold Cup. Their team, their players not coming. this, that, yada, yada, yada. But there's still a challenge if this is, of course, if we get past Guatemala and if, say, the States get past Costa Rica. I can't say I'm overly confident. I, of course, overly back these guys. I love them to death, to bits. But yeah, I'm not feeling that magic that I was last year during the Copa. During the Copa last year, it felt like something special. During this one, it kind of just feels like it started special with that 6-0 against Honduras. But since then, it has kind of felt like, what are we doing? I can't tell if we're experimenting. I can't tell if this is our team. I can't tell really what we're doing, and yet the more it feels like we experiment, the more the same issues are still there. Missed chances, overrun in the midfield, sloppy on the ball at times, struggle in possession a little bit, struggling out of possession sometimes. It's not ideal. We are a year out from a World Cup, and we are struggling against teams that we should be beating with ease. And I'm not talking like we're Brazil or nothing. I don't want you to think that my expectation is for us to be Brazil or France or Germany. But I do think that there should be a realistic expectation of us being able to dispatch of these teams that, in theory, we should be dispatching with ease. Honduras, yes, we did. Ivory Coast, even in the Canadian Shield, we struggled greatly. Ukraine, we looked great until the last 5 minutes where we conceded 2 out of nowhere. So that's a concern. And then, of course, Curacao, we let them back in. And then against El Salvador, we didn't look phenomenal, but at least we got the job done. So yeah, I'm kind of concerned a little bit, as I kind of vocalized in the last episode, and I continue to vocalize right now. So before I just keep rambling on about that, let's kind of get into the player by player, and I'm sure I'll probably start saying other things throughout that as well. So why don't let's start that. So in goal was Maxime Crepeau. I was very happy about this. As you well know, I'm a big time Maxime Crepeau fan. I think he is not just our best goalkeeper, but I'm going to make the claim he's the best goalkeeper in CONCACAF. I'll make that claim and I'll die on that hill. Why not? On the night, he didn't show it because he didn't have to. There was I genuinely do not recall him making a save. The only chance I recall El Salvador having was off of a free kick. They floated in an actually very nice ball, and one of their players, I think it was Osorio, not Jonathan. There Osorio, and I think he just put it wide, and that was the only time I can really think of Maxime Crepeau even coming close to being tested. I can't think of a Crepeau save. He got on the ball a couple of times because the defense was being nice to him and passed it to him. But yeah, easy cap for him, and he gets an easy clean sheet. And it's about time he got in on some of the easy clean sheets, because my goodness, this boy, he will make save after save after save and not get a clean sheet. But at least here he does get that clean sheet. And yeah, I was very happy that he was in. He is our best goalkeeper, I think. And I hope that he is our goalkeeper going forward in this tournament. But time will tell, and Jesse Marsh will get to make that decision and not me. Right back, Alistair Johnston. This was far, far better than his performance against Curacao. He only came off the bench against Curacao, and it wasn't a great one. But this one was good. I thought our defense overall, as a whole, they were just better on the day than they were against Curacao. And Alistair Johnston is he's no outlier. It's not like he was bad here. He was good here. He made some big tackles. He was the guy that got elbowed in the face to get El Salvador's second player off. So he took one for the team on that one, as he did in the Copa last year as well. Of course, he got headbutted last year, and the guy was not sent off. But here, I guess justice was served, ? But yeah, I thought it was a good performance from Alistair Johnston. A couple big tackles, a couple hard tackles, which is what this game needed too. El Salvador needed to know that, they're going to be dirty, but we can I don't want to say we were as dirty because we definitely weren't, but we can at least kind of match that energy with some good hard tackles. On the left was Richie Larea. I thought he was very good. He got up the pitch a lot, which was good. He got to overlap and I hate this term, but it's a term that everyone's using. Invert. I prefer like underlap. That's just me. Overlap when you go on the outside of your man. Underlap when you go on the inside of your man. He was going on the inside of his man. Screw inverting. I'm going to call it underlapping. He underlapped a lot. Was getting central, too. There was times where he was picking up pockets that like a number 10 would pick up. And yeah, I thought he, obviously doesn't pitch in with a goal or an assist on the day. But yeah, I thought he could have, He was getting into good positions, good opportunities, and he looked good defensively the few times he had to. Luke DeFougerolles gets a booking. 100% never a booking, by the way. I was genuinely baffled that he got a yellow card for that. I guess it kind of evened out because then he tried to dive later on and it didn't work, so he could have been booked for that. So I guess he didn't get booked for that because he shouldn't have been booked for his quote-unquote foul. But yeah, Luke DeFougerolles, the only disappointing part of his game was his simulation, his dive to try and win a free kick. It was terrible. I really don't like when defenders do that. I know it is now a part of the game, but you look like a clown when it doesn't go your way, and it didn't go Luke DeFougerolles' way. The play just went on, and Curaçao actually whipped the ball into the box, and wasn't for Jacob Schaffelberg, they could have actually scored. But yeah, outside of that, I thought he had, once again, a good game. He wasn't tested all too much. He looks comfortable on the ball. He looks good with the short and long passes, and he looks pretty decent in possession, too. He is only 19 and not a lot of games under those legs. Like, he's pretty inexperienced, and I don't mean that in, like, a disrespectful way. I just mean, like, he hasn't really played a whole ton, especially in this last year. As I've mentioned, he's been injured this last year, so yeah, it's good that he looks like he has the makings to be a quite mature center back, especially since he's 19. And then you add in the fact that he really hasn't played all that much football, really. So that is good. Derek Cornelius was his partner on the day, and I mean, basically what I said for DeFougerolles, you could probably say for Cornelius. He looked good defensively when he had to. He looks good in possession. I think he is our best passer of the ball when it comes to our center backs. I'd have, someone may correct me, I don't know, but in my opinion, I do think he is probably our best passer, at least at the moment. He finds those long balls very well, whether it's Larea or Schaffelberg or David making a run in behind. Derek Cornelius is one to really spot those, I find, and find those runners. Which one thing to spot them, another thing to find them, and more often than not, he does them both. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Derek Cornelius on the day. Like I said, didn't have a whole ton to do, but yeah, just overall, I thought our defense was much better, and it's nice to see Derek Cornelius get these minutes because he missed the first 2 games with that slight knock. So yeah. Moving into the midfield, we'll start off with from left, then to the right, then our 2 central boys. Jacob Schaffelberg, I once again did not find myself overly impressed with him. I'm very sorry. I am a fan of Jacob Schaffelberg, I do promise. But yeah, I was not super impressed. I didn't think he offered a whole ton. He offered a couple runs. He did put in one very nice ball that should have been pounced on, or midway-ish through the first half, and his defensive intervention that I had alluded to earlier was also massive. Outside of that, he's also the guy that got literally nearly killed for the penalty that we got. Of course, the penalty wasn't converted, but yeah, I was not overly impressed by Schaffelberg. I just think if he can't run in behind and get onto a ball, I find that he's not the most effective, and it feels like El Salvador really nullified that. And then in the second half, we moved him over to the right, and we moved Tajon on to the left, and Tajon looked exponentially better on the left than Schaffelberg did, and Schaffelberg was pretty much a non-factor again on the right side. I would be very tempted if I was Jesse Marsch to give Jaden Nelson the start against Guatemala, have Tajon start on the left, have Jaden Nelson on the right. Jaden Nelson operates better off the right than he does left. I know he can do both, kind of like Tajon. Tajon operates best wherever you put that man, because that's GOAT right there. But yeah, I'd be tempted just because I think Jaden Nelson has a bit more in his locker than Schaffelberg. He's still a little bit of an unknown with the Canadian men's national team. He's having a great season with the Whitecaps. I know he did get a chance against Curaçao, but that Curaçao game has a big asterisk over it for literally all of those players because none of them were that impressive. So we can't just bin them all off and go, now we're done with these guys. I don't think so, at least. Jesse Marsch will probably stick with Jacob Schaffelberg going into the next game, and that's okay. And I hope Jacob Schaffelberg proves me wrong and he grabs a brace next game, But yeah, just on the day, I don't think he was that effective. On the right, Tajon Buchanan, he found a little bit of joy in I say a little bit. He made a couple of runs that were spotted by Jonathan David, but he literally got clotheslined, both times. So that kind of absolutely cut him out. That was really Tajon's first half. He wasn't super involved, but then the second half, he was much, much more involved, of course, grabbing himself a goal. I just thought he looked more influential. Of course, yes, a guy with Tajon's skill set against 8 outfielders, he is going to look even better than he is, And that I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean he's already very good, and now he's going to look even very gooder against less men. He found way more joy with that space to operate on that left-hand side. You could tell every single time he got the ball, he wanted to cut in onto his right. And funnily enough, the goal that he scores is from him switching it onto his left foot and scoring. So funny how that works. But yeah, you could tell he really wanted to cut in on his right. He was very effective. He wanted the ball into his feet, made some good runs, and was just causing headaches for the El Salvador defenders, So, yeah, Tajon Buchanan, one of our better performers on the day, I would say. In the center of the park, we had Choinière and Seeger. I was very happy, very, very happy to see Seeger in the center of the park. For Canada, he's really only been lining up as a right back. If you have not listened to this podcast before, or you are just unfamiliar with Nico Seeger, he actually is a central midfielder, even though we have deployed him as a right back in basically all of his games, except for last night. And yeah, I was quite happy. What sucks is this was one of those games where we got overrun in the midfield. So we didn't see the best of Seeger, especially in that first half. I don't think he was terrible. I mean, he was at the heart of one of the guys getting sent off, Ortiz. By the way, Ortiz on El Salvador, that was definitely a night to forget. Spent the first 10 minutes of the game just rolling around on the ground. Then gets a booking, a yellow card that really could have been red for going in studs up on Jacob Schaffelberg. And then does literally the exact same thing against Nico Seeger and gets his second yellow. And that was his night. But yeah, Nico Seeger, I found he struggled a little bit with the overrunnedness of El Salvador, just constantly coming up through the middle. Him and Choinière, I mean, I don't think they've played much together in the center of the park, and it kind of showed a little bit on the day. For that first half, really, it really felt like the two of them were feeling each other out, and the chemistry just wasn't fully there. Maybe with more games together, they could, but yeah, just on the day, just not super. But then in the second half, I thought Seeger looked better. He had more time on the ball because there was 9 against 11, and that goes back to us being overrun in the midfield constantly. In the first half, we were overrun the midfield, and Seeger and Choinière found little to no joy. Then the second half, we're not overrun the midfield. Our two midfielders get on the ball, get to dictate the flow of the game. Imagine if we just played with 3 midfielders, and put that against 11 men, put it against 9 men, whatever. If we had 3 midfielders, I think we would be so much more comfortable. But I digress. I will not open that can of worms. But yeah, he picks up a very nice assist on the Tajon Buchanan goal. And yeah, he just looked more comfortable on the ball in that second half. He looked like he had, like I said, more time. He was able to help the flow, the tempo of the game dictate it, finding different pockets to kind of operate in. And then, of course, when Alistair Johnston went off, he went into the right back slot, and he was making a lot of those overlapping runs. He was in their defensive area more than he was in our defensive area when he was our defender, So just kind of shows you how that second half was going. To his partner, Choinière, on the day, I think you could basically copy and paste what I said for Seager and say it for Choinière. In the first half, looked overrun. He looked like he couldn't really have time to breathe on the ball. He wasn't able to get a hold of the game. And I will say his set pieces were kind of disappointing on the day. He is someone that I think is probably our best set piece taker, and his set pieces, apart from one or two corners, they weren't the best on the day. But I still do back him as our best set piece taker. But yeah, in the second half, kind of like I said with Seager, he had more time on the ball. He looked more comfortable. He looked more familiar with Seager. They didn't look like they were up to their throats in just shit. Of being overrun. I'm sorry, excuse my language. But yeah, he didn't look like he was, rushed on the ball, hurried on the ball. And he picks up a great pass to unlock the El Salvador defense to find Jonathan David. Grabs I believe that's his first assist for Canada, which is baffling. Feels like he should definitely have more. But yeah, overall, I guess in short, our midfield in the first half didn't look superb. But then the second half, with the naturally more time that they were afforded on the ball, I thought they were allowed to get into the flow of the game a little bit more and really dictate the actual game, which is exactly what you want for your midfield. I will still die on the hill. We need to be playing three midfielders. And at this point, I don't care who those three are. It needs to be three midfielders, preferably a defensive midfielder sitting right in front of our back four. Samuel Piette is someone that comes to mind, but I know we have other guys. Seager even could probably do that job. Eustachio could do that job. Someone could do that job, and it works. It would work, I think. But anyways, I said I wouldn't open that can of worms, and here I am opening that can of worms. I also, before I get into our strikers, want to apologize for my voice and any wonky breathing that you might hear. I can hear myself breathing a little bit differently. I've been coughing in between me stopping the record button because I have a little bit of a cold and my allergies are terrible this time of year. So it's a cocktail of terribleness. So I do apologize if that is just absolutely just killing my voice for you. I really hope it's not. I hope it's not ruining your listening experience. But moving on to our strikers, we'll start with Promise David. I thought it was pretty ineffective, which is a shame because I think that this is a good time now to be getting the best out of Promise David. This is an amazing season that he's had, so you want to see him replicate that for the country. He does have 2 goals for us so far. One, of course, in the Gold Cup on the day. I think he should have had one. I think he definitely should have had one. Luke DeFougerel put in a great ball for Promise David right on his head, and he fluffs his lines. I think you need to score that, and that goes back to my points of wasted chances. In the World Cup, we will probably get less chances like that. So when those chances do come up, we need to score those. Because imagine we're against, I don't know, a Germany or a France or something. If you get that opportunity, you have to score that opportunity. You have to. We are missing these opportunities. This is not a new thing. This was even a thing with John Herdman before Jesse Marsch. Jesse Marsch has yet to fix it, which is crazy to me. Not that he hasn't, but it's just crazy to me that we have all these class strikers, and they are class strikers, and yet they still score for us, and yet it still feels like sometimes maybe we should have gotten more than what we did, But yeah, Promise David, not the best day out for him, but it wasn't a disaster class by any means. That was really only the service he got on the day, just that one ball, and yeah, he should score it. And I I think 9 times out of 10 he probably does, So we won't be too harsh. I feel like I've already been quite negative so far. Jonathan David on the day, our captain. I thought he had a good game. Hot take. Apparently, a lot of the tweets and articles I've seen, I did not think he had a good game. I thought he was probably our best attacker on the day. Him or Tage, really. In the first half, yes, he did miss that penalty. Yes, he should score that. But Jonathan David scores literally 9 out of 10 times on that penalty. That is the first penalty I've seen him miss in I don't know how long. I'm never confident in someone stepping up to take a penalty. He is the one guy where I'm I feel at least a little bit of confidence in this because he is just that good on penalties. Yes, it's a bad penalty, but everyone misses, So whatever, I thought that he linked up very well with Tajon Buchanan in the first half. They, like I had said, they were the only two that felt like maybe something was going to happen through in that first 45, until Tajon would inevitably get clotheslined. But yeah, there was 2 great plays by Jonathan David where he dropped back and quickly would get onto the ball and release it, breaking the defensive line of El Salvador for Tajon Buchanan to run onto that ball. Then, like I said, he'd get literally decked. But up until then, it's a great play. And yeah, just Jonathan David just essentially dropping back. As I've kind of said before, he plays the game for us when he's with Canada, plays it like a number 9, but also like a number 10, like a mix. He'll drop back, do some defensive work, and then also scouting out some plays and making those plays, and then inevitably, hopefully scoring a goal, because that's exactly what he did here. Yes, you could take your missed penalty and you can throw that away because he scored a great goal. As I had said, Mathieu Choinière plays a beautiful ball to Jonathan David. Jonathan David, the moment he got on that ball, there was not a bone in my body that thought he wasn't doing anything other than scoring. He grabs the ball, he has a quick look up, and you just know exactly what he's going to do. He's curling that ball into the bottom corner, and that is exactly what he does. I honestly, outside of Harry Kane, I don't think there's another striker in the world that makes that finish right now. Hot take? I don't know. I don't think so. Also, talking of Jonathan David, that Juventus move is on ice right now. Because his agent wants $15 million in agent fees. To put that into context, Jonathan David, the reported contract that he was being offered was $6 million a year plus $2 million add-ons. So if he just gets $6 million a year, it'll be 3 years into his Juventus reign before he has made more than his agent off of this deal. That's absurd. And now you can kind of see, I think, why some teams are a little bit hesitant on Jonathan David, because when your agent wants more than you, that's wild. So I really, I don't know all the behind the scenes mechanics of agents and whatnot. I really don't. But I don't think an agent should ever be making more than their player. And this is all just off of reports. If this is all true, who the heck knows? But since I was talking about Jonathan David, that just popped in my head. I forgot to write it down in my notes. And yeah, not a fan of that, but hopefully that Juventus move does happen. And if it doesn't, then that's a big time shame, because it really does feel like a lot of clubs are once again coming to Jonathan David in a transfer window and then quickly running away, going, never mind, which is absurd to me. He is a class player, but now I guess you can kind of maybe see why when his agent is reportedly asking for that much. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, overall, I thought Jonathan David had a pretty good game. And like I said, is that a hot take? Maybe. I don't think so. In the 57th minute, we'll look at the subs. Joe Waterman came in for Derek Cornelius, and yeah, it was another cap for him. He had literally nothing to do. The couple times he got onto the ball, he looked comfortable. He made a good few passes. He did not have anything to do, though. So, easy cap for Joel Waterman, and keeps him fresh going into the next game, which is good. Jalen Jefferson came on for Jonathan David in the 57th. He struggled a little bit to get into this one. as he has in most of our games. Yeah, I do see the potential there with Daniel Jebison. I do. I really do. And I don't think he was terrible, but just it feels like he gets marked out the games and then he kind of just is a non-factor. And when you're getting marked out of a game against 9 men, 8 outfielders, that's not ideal, especially when you're trying to make an impression. He had a couple of touches where it looked like maybe he could create something. I'm thinking that back heel that he laid, I can't remember who he laid it off to, but it was a very nice back heel. Like things like that is like where it's like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He is good. But yeah, I think he just needs time to develop. I think he hasn't been getting shots at club level. So I think once he gets settled at a club, right now he's going to be going out on loan to Preston. So once he kind of gets settled, I think gets minutes under him, I do think that you will see him. I think we will see him start to show the player that we think he can be. And Ishmael Kone came on in the 57th with Alistair Johnston. Coming off, that is when Seager went back. Kone looked decent. I still am yet to see the best of Kone since the Copa America. I thought against Curacao, he didn't have his best outing. He had some moments. And here he once again had moments, but he didn't look phenomenal. But he wasn't terrible, if that makes sense. He definitely looks comfortable on the ball. I think he's our best driver with the ball. Like, he is our best carrier, I should say, with the ball. When he has the ball, it feels like sometimes it feels like that ball is glued to his foot and he is going to be very hard to dispossess. And that was the case here. I just think he needs to really fine-tune his decision-making, because he gets to the point where it's like, do I lay this ball off? Do I keep going? Do I shoot? Do I do X, Y, Z kind of thing? And sometimes I find that he maybe takes too long or doesn't make the right decision. And I think that's just something that he is going to come with consistency playing at club level. Of course, he's had a very inconsistent stop-start season with Marseille and then Rennes. So hopefully, once we kind of see him doing it at club level consistently, I think we'll start seeing him do it at an international level. In the 62nd, Kyle Larin came on for Promise David. And yeah, once again, kind of a non-factor. I didn't think he got much service. He made a couple nice runs, but kind of like Daniel Jebison, it really felt like he wasn't much of a threat outside of some of those runs that he would make. I can't really even think of like a significant touch or moment he really had in the game. And in the 77th, Jamie Knight-LaBelle came on for Luc Defougerol, and kind of like Joel Waterman, it was another cap for Knight-LaBelle. He looked steady on the ball, and yeah, he didn't have a whole ton to do. So yeah, I mean, not a bad note to end on, but kind of a short note to end on, I suppose. But yeah, that kind of wraps up our player by player here. And with that also does wrap up our El Salvador game review, recap, whatever we would like to call it. Yeah, once again, not the best game. Definitely some things Canada could have done to improve that, but also it is quite difficult when your opponent is literally just trying to break you. So I give them I won't say give them a pass on this game because I don't want to be making excuses, but I can at least understand why this game wasn't the best, you know? That's how I feel about it. But yeah, we have Guatemala, and you already know I will be covering that game, win, lose. I was going to say or draw, but we can't draw. It is the quarterfinal. That is being played on Saturday night, 7:15 my time. If you're listening in other places of Canada or the world, maybe check your local listings. But yeah, hopefully we get it done against Guatemala. I don't think that it's going to be this easy run out. I really don't. I think Guatemala is going to be coming in there looking for a big time upset, because this would be an upset for sure. And I think that's exactly what Guatemala is going to be looking for. So we will have to wait and see how Canada sets up. And what concerns me is we play up to our opponents, but we also play down to our opponents. By this, I mean, when we play a team that I think it could be a close game or even we shouldn't win, we play up to them and look very good. When we play against a team where it feels like we should beat them, That's where I have my concerns, and that's where I have my concerns going into this game on Saturday night. I do hope and think they will prove me wrong. I'm not saying that I think we're going to lose. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. So we will see. Hey, I hope it's 5-0 for Canada. But I really do think it's going to be a tight, cagey affair. I think it's going to be very CONCACAF-y, going to be very stop-start, and I think we're going to see what our boys are kind of made of in this one. So, yeah, definitely watch that, and then, of course, be on the lookout for the podcast for that dropping after the game. And, yeah, all that being said, follow me along at Maple Footy Pod everywhere or Sam Little 44 everywhere for any and all updates. I do hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying the Gold Cup. And yeah, I hope that Canada gets it done. That is what I will leave off on. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. And until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates. Remember to support Canadian football, be kind, and until next time, live, laugh, little.